Commander Zalthor stood in the engineering bay, watching the displays with growing dread. The numbers kept getting worse. His forearms twitched nervously, a sign his Velkari species showed when facing danger. Around him, the engineering team worked frantically at their stations. "Commander, the fusion core temperature is rising again," said Engineer Telmoth, a tall Thrennok with silver skin that now looked pale with worry. "We've tried every standard procedure. Nothing works." Zalthor clicked his mandibles together, thinking hard. The Salveth Wanderer was far from any station, deep in uncharted space. They were a research vessel with a crew of 47 beings from 5 different species. Now their ship was dying. "How long do we have?" Zalthor asked, though he feared the answer. Telmoth checked his console. His hand shook slightly. 47 hours, maybe less. The magnetic containment is failing. When it collapses, the fusion reaction will breach the core. The explosion will destroy the ship completely. The words fell like stones in water. 47 hours. Less than 2 days. And they were 8 days away from the nearest station, even at maximum speed. Zalthor activated the ship-wide communication system. "All crew, this is Commander Zalthor. Report to the main assembly hall immediately." "This is not a drill." 20 minutes later, the crew gathered in the hall. Zalthor looked at their faces. The insectoid Velkari, the tall Thrennok, the scaled Quasar, the small furry Minthari, and the 3 humans. Every species represented on this ship was about to hear terrible news. "Our fusion core is failing," Zalthor said simply. "We have 47 hours before it breaches. We cannot reach any station in time. We are too far from any planet." "I am sorry." Silence filled the hall. Then voices rose in panic, questions shouted in different languages, the ship's translators struggling to keep up. Zalthor raised all 4 arms for quiet. "We will attempt emergency evacuation procedures," he continued. "We will launch all escape pods toward the nearest system. Perhaps rescue ships can find us. It is a small chance, but it is all we have." More voices, more fear. Zalthor understood. Escape pods had limited life support. The nearest system was 4 days away at the pod's slow speed. Many would not survive even if rescue came. A hand raised in the back. Human hand. It was Sarah Chen, one of the 3 human engineers on board. She stood with the other 2 humans, Dr. Marcus Webb and pilot Ravi Sharma. "Commander, may we speak with you privately?" Sarah asked. Her voice was calm, too calm for someone who just heard about their coming death. Zalthor tilted his head, curious. "Very well. The rest of you begin evacuation preparations. We meet in the private conference room in 10 minutes." The humans followed him to the small room near the bridge. Zalthor had worked with humans for 6 months now. They were strange creatures, soft-skinned and small compared to most species. They came from a planet called Earth, a world that seemed determined to kill everything on it. Somehow humans thrived there anyway. The 3 humans sat down. Sarah pulled out a data pad and placed it on the table. Marcus leaned forward, his dark eyes serious. Ravi stood by the door, arms crossed. "Commander, we have an idea," Sarah said. "You're not going to like it." "I am listening," Zalthor said, settling his large frame into a chair designed for his species. Sarah tapped her datapad. A holographic display appeared showing the ship's fusion core. "The problem is in the magnetic containment system and the primary coolant regulators. To fix it, someone needs to go inside the core chamber and make manual repairs." Zalthor's mandibles clicked in confusion. "That is impossible. The radiation inside the core chamber would kill any being in less than 90 seconds. The temperature alone would cook flesh instantly. Even in a protective suit, no one would survive long enough to make repairs." "No one from most species," Marcus said quietly. "But maybe humans could." Zalthor stared at them. His translator device beeped, as if confused by what it just heard. "You are suggesting suicide." "We're suggesting a very dangerous rescue mission," Sarah corrected. She swiped her pad, bringing up new data. "Look at these calculations. Human physiology is different from most species in the galaxy. Our cells handle radiation damage differently. We evolved on a planet with higher background radiation than most garden worlds. We heal faster. Our tolerance for extreme conditions is higher." "You said 90 seconds, Ravi added. "That's for most species. Humans might last 4, maybe 6 minutes with the right equipment modifications." "Might," Zalthor repeated. "What are the odds of survival?" The 3 humans looked at each other. Marcus spoke first. "Honestly, about 40%. Maybe less. That is unacceptable, Zalthor said firmly. I will not send crew members to certain death. It's not certain death, it's likely death, Sarah said. Big difference. And Commander, everyone on this ship is facing certain death in 47 hours. We're offering a chance, a real chance to save the ship. Zalthor studied them carefully. In 6 months, he had learned some things about humans. They took risks that seemed insane to other species. They did things that appeared suicidal but somehow survived. Their planet's history was full of such stories. But this was different. This was walking into a fusion reactor. Why? He asked. Why would you volunteer for this? The humans shared a look. Then Ravi smiled, a human expression showing teeth that Zalthor had learned meant pleasure or humor. Commander, humans have a saying. Hold my beer and watch this. It means we're about to do something really stupid but hopefully awesome. We've been working on the suit modifications for the past 6 hours, Sarah said, pulling up more data ever since we knew the core was failing. We think we can boost the radiation shielding by 40% and add additional cooling systems. It won't be comfortable, but it might work. You have been planning this for 6 hours? Without authorization? Zalthor felt his thorax heating up, a sign of anger in his species. We needed to know if it was even possible before we wasted your time, Marcus said. Now we know it is. Barely possible, but possible. Zalthor stood and paced the room. His forearms gesticulated as he thought. This was madness. Humans were mad, but they were also his crew. And they were right about one thing. Everyone was already facing death. At least this way there was a chance. I need to think, he said. And I need to consult with the other senior officers. This decision cannot be mine alone. Commander, Sarah said softly, we don't have much time. Every hour the core gets worse. If we wait too long, even this insane plan won't work. Zalthor looked at the 3 humans. They sat calmly, as if they had not just volunteered to walk into hell itself. He had read about human psychology. They had words for this: courage, bravery, heroism. Other species had these concepts too, but humans seemed to take them to extremes. 1 hour, he said finally. I will give you my answer in 1 hour. Prepare your equipment, but do not enter the core until I give explicit permission. That is an order. Yes, sir, all 3 humans said together. As they left the room, Zalthor heard Ravi whisper to the others. Think he'll say yes? He has to, Sarah whispered back. We're the only chance this ship has. Zalthor stood alone in the conference room, looking at the data on Sarah's pad. The numbers were real. The plan could work, but it would probably kill 3 members of his crew. He opened a communication channel to the senior officers. Report to conference room immediately. We need to discuss something unthinkable. The senior officers filled the conference room. Security Chief Korvan, a massive Quasar with blue scales, sat with his arms crossed. Chief Medical Officer Lyra, a small Minthari covered in white fur, looked worried. Science Officer Pelmoth, another Velkari like Zalthor, studied the data on the display. You cannot be serious, Korvan said after hearing the plan. His deep voice rumbled like thunder. This is madness. No being can survive inside a fusion core. The humans believe they can, Zalthor said carefully. The humans are insane, Korvan replied. Everyone knows this. They come from a death world. Their judgment about safety is not reliable. Lyra raised a small paw. Actually, the humans may be correct about their radiation tolerance. I have studied their medical files. Human cells have remarkable repair mechanisms. Their DNA can fix itself faster than most species, and their planet does have higher radiation levels than the galactic standard. Higher radiation on a planet's surface is very different from the inside of a fusion core, Pelmoth pointed out. His mandibles clicked thoughtfully. But I have reviewed their calculations. The mathematics are sound. If the suit modifications work as designed, and if the humans can work quickly enough, they might succeed. Might, Korvan repeated. That word appears too often in this plan. What other options do we have? Zalthor asked, looking around the table. Evacuation pods will not save most of the crew. We all know this. The humans offer the only real chance to save everyone. Silence fell over the room. Finally, Lyra spoke in her soft voice. Commander, I must note something else. The humans know the odds. They know they will probably die. Yet they volunteered immediately. They were planning this before you even announced the crisis to the crew. This speaks to something fundamental about their species. It speaks to their recklessness, Korvan growled. It speaks to their courage. Pelmoth countered. They are willing to sacrifice themselves for the crew. For us, that is not recklessness. That is nobility. Zalthor made his decision. We will allow them to try. But I want every safety measure possible. Lyra, you will monitor their vital signs constantly. Korvan, prepare emergency extraction procedures in case they become incapacitated. Pelmoth, verify all their calculations. If there is even the smallest error, we stop this. The officers nodded, though Korvan looked unhappy. They left to begin preparations. Zalthor went to the engineering bay where the humans were working. The sight that greeted him was somehow both impressive and disturbing. The three humans moved with purpose, modifying their protective suits with additional shielding. They worked quickly, their hands moving with practiced skill, and they were laughing. So I told him, Ravi was saying, if you're going to steal my lunch, at least have the decency to pretend it wasn't you. Sarah laughed. Did he admit it? Eventually. After I found the empty container in his trash, they were joking, making casual conversation, as if they were not preparing to walk into certain death. Marcus noticed Zalthor first. Commander, do we have approval? You do, Zalthor said slowly. Though I confess I do not understand you. How can you laugh at a time like this? The humans paused in their work. Sarah set down a tool and walked over. Commander, would you prefer we cry, panic, sit in a corner dreading what's coming? I do not know, Zalthor admitted. But your behavior is unusual. It's human, Marcus said with a smile. We laugh because we're terrified. We joke because otherwise we'd break down. Humor in the face of death is how we cope. On Earth there's a tradition among soldiers, Ravi added. Before a dangerous mission they joke and tell stories. They act casual. It's not because they don't care. It's because they care too much. If they let themselves feel all the fear, they couldn't function. Zalthor considered this. Your species is very strange. We get that a lot, Sarah said cheerfully. She returned to her suit modifications. Okay, let me explain what we're doing. These suits are adding 3 layers of radiation-resistant polymer. It's experimental material we were testing for another project. We're also adding cooling tubes that circulate liquid nitrogen, and we've reinforced the faceplate with lead-infused transparent steel. How long will the modifications take? Zalthor asked. Another 3 hours, Marcus answered. We're being thorough. This suit has to keep us alive long enough to fix the core. 4 to 6 minutes, Zalthor said. That is not much time. It's enough if we move fast, Sarah said confidently. We've practiced the procedures in simulation. Marcus handles the primary stabilizer. I work on the coolant regulators. Ravi manages the magnetic containment field. We each have specific tasks. We get in, we fix it, we get out. And if something goes wrong? Zalthor had to ask. The 3 humans looked at each other. Their humor faded for a moment. Ravi spoke quietly. Then at least we tried. Better than just waiting to die. As the humans continued working, other crew members began arriving. Word had spread about the plan. Some came to argue against it. Others came to watch in morbid fascination. The Thrennock crew gathered in small groups, their silver skin shimmering with distress. The Quasar stood apart, their scaled faces unreadable. Telmoth approached Zalthor. Commander, the other engineers and I have verified the human calculations. The plan should work. The core damage is localized to 3 systems. If they can repair all 3 within 6 minutes, the core will stabilize. And if they take longer? Zalthor asked. Telmoth's face darkened. Then the humans will die and the core will still fail. We gain nothing except knowing we tried. 6 hours passed. The humans finished their suit modifications. They stood in the airlock leading to the core chamber, looking like strange armored warriors in their bulky protective gear. The suits were covered in white reflective material with cooling tubes running across the surface. Their faceplates were thick and tinted dark. Lyra had attached medical monitors to each human. Vital signs displayed on screens throughout the ship. Heart rate, body temperature, radiation exposure, oxygen levels. Every crew member with access to a screen was watching. Zalthor stood at the airlock entrance. The 3 humans faced him, their faces visible through the faceplates. Are you ready? He asked, knowing it was a foolish question. As ready as we'll ever be, Sarah said. Her voice came through the suit's communication system, slightly distorted. Remember, Zalthor said, if at any point you feel you cannot continue, you exit immediately. That is an order. Understood, Commander, Marcus said. But Zalthor could see the determination in his eyes. This human would not quit until the job was done or he was dead. One more thing, Ravi said. Commander, if we don't make it out, tell everyone we died doing something awesome. Make it sound really cool. Despite everything, Zalthor felt his mandibles twitch in what might have been amusement. I will ensure your actions are properly recorded for history. Good enough, Ravi said. Sarah stepped forward and extended her hand, a human greeting. Zalthor grasped it with one of his 4 hands. See you in a few minutes, Commander. I truly hope so, Zalthor said quietly. The 3 humans entered the airlock. The door sealed behind them with a heavy thud. Through the window, Zalthor watched them approach the inner door that led to the core chamber. Beyond that door was heat that could melt metal, radiation that could kill in seconds, a fusion reaction barely contained by failing magnetic fields, and 3 humans were about to walk into it. Commander, Lyra's voice came over the communication system. All vital signs are elevated but stable. They are ready. Zalthor took a deep breath. Humans, you are cleared to enter the core chamber. May your gods watch over you. Thanks, Commander, Sarah said. But we're going to do this ourselves. The inner door opened. Light blazed from within, bright and terrible. The 3 humans stepped forward into the inferno. The door sealed behind them. On screens throughout the ship, crew members watched in silent horror as 3 beings walked into certain death to save them all. The bridge was silent except for the sound of breathing and the steady beep of monitoring equipment. Every screen showed the same thing. 3 humans inside the fusion core chamber, moving through an environment that should kill them instantly. Zalthor stood at the main display, his forearms gripping the console edge. He could not look away. Around him, the bridge crew watched in horrified fascination. Temperature reading, 4,000 degrees Kelvin, announced the computer in its calm voice. Radiation level 850 rem per minute. Magnetic containment at 42% and falling. Those numbers meant death. Any other species would already be gone. But the humans were still moving, still working. Sarah, I'm at the primary stabilizer. Marcus's voice came through the communication system. It sounded strained but steady. Starting repairs now. On the screen, they could see Marcus's armored figure crouched beside a massive piece of equipment. His hands moved quickly, removing panels and reaching inside with tools. The suit's external temperature gauge climbed steadily. 300 degrees. 400. 500. Coolant regulator system accessed, Sarah reported. She stood at a different section of the chamber, her hands deep inside an open panel. The damage is worse than we thought. I need an extra minute. We don't have an extra minute, Ravi called back. He was working on the magnetic containment field generator, his whole body pressed against the machine. Make it fast, Chen. Working on it, Sarah said through gritted teeth. Zalthor checked the time. 90 seconds had passed. The humans were already beyond the survival threshold for most species. On the medical monitors, their vital signs were changing. Heart rates climbing, body temperatures rising, but they were still conscious, still working. Suit integrity at 73%, the computer announced. Warning, radiation exposure approaching lethal levels. We know, Ravi shouted. Trust me, we know. Lyra stood at her medical station, her small paws trembling as she watched the monitors. Commander, their bodies are taking massive damage. Cellular breakdown is beginning. They should be unconscious by now. But they are not, Zalthor said quietly. They continue working. On Earth, he remembered reading humans had survived things that should have killed them. Extreme temperatures, terrible injuries, radiation doses that would kill other species. They had a saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Perhaps there was truth in those words. 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Primary stabilizer repaired, Marcus announced. His voice was weaker now, ragged with pain. Moving to backup systems. Zalthor could see through the camera that Marcus's suit was damaged. The white reflective surface was scorched black in places. Small wisps of steam rose from the cooling tubes. But the human kept working. Magnetic containment responding, Ravi reported. Field strength increasing. Come on, work, you piece of junk. Sarah suddenly gasped in pain. On the monitor, her heart rate spiked dangerously high. Chen, Marcus called out. You okay? Fine, Sarah said, though her voice suggested otherwise. Just burned my hand on something. Forgot how hot everything is in here. Coolant system is responding. Almost got it. 3 minutes and 15 seconds. The bridge crew was completely silent now. Even Korvan, who had opposed this mission, watched with something like awe. The Thrennock crew members had their hands clasped together in their traditional prayer gesture. The Minthari were crying softly. Suit integrity at 61%, the computer said. Multiple system failures detected. Recommend immediate evacuation. Recommendation denied, Sarah said sharply. We're almost done. 4 minutes, Xalthor could barely watch. The humans were moving slower now, their movements jerky and uncoordinated. The radiation was destroying their nervous systems. The heat was cooking them inside their suits. But they kept working. Marcus finished with the backup systems and stumbled toward Sarah's position. Let me help. No, stay back, Sarah said. Too many people in one spot will overwhelm the local shielding. I've got this. Sarah, your suit is failing, Marcus said urgently. I know. Just give me 30 more seconds. Ravi was still working on the magnetic containment. Xalthor could see the human's hands shaking. Through the communication system, he could hear Ravi's voice, quiet but steady, reciting something in an old Earth language. What is he saying? Pelmoth asked. Lyra checked her translator. It is an ancient poem from Earth. It says, do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. A poem about defying death, Xalthor said softly. How appropriate. 4 minutes and 40 seconds. Coolant regulators fixed, Sarah announced. System is stabilizing. Temperature dropping in the core. Magnetic containment secured, Ravi added. His voice was barely a whisper now. Field strength at 70% and climbing. Backup systems all green, Marcus said. He was leaning against a wall, clearly struggling to stay upright. Commander, I think we did it. Xalthor checked the engineering displays. The fusion core temperature was dropping. The magnetic containment was holding. The coolant system was functioning. The crisis was over. Confirmed, Xalthor said, his voice thick with emotion. The core is stable. You have saved the ship. Now get out of there immediately. 5 minutes and 12 seconds. The 3 humans turned toward the exit. They moved slowly, painfully. Sarah was limping badly. Marcus had one arm hanging useless at his side. Ravi stumbled and nearly fell, catching himself against a railing. Come on, Sarah said. Almost there. Just a little further. They reached the inner door. It opened slowly, too slowly. Xalthor wanted to reach through the screen and pull them out himself. Finally, the door opened wide enough for them to squeeze through. They fell into the airlock, collapsing against each other. Close the door, Marcus managed to say. Seal it. The inner door closed. The airlock began its decontamination cycle. Precious seconds ticked by as radiation was purged from the chamber. The humans lay in a heap on the floor, their suits smoking and damaged. Finally, the outer door opened. Medical teams rushed in with stretchers. Lyra was first through the door, her scanner already working. Get them to medical immediately, she ordered. They need emergency treatment now. The humans were carefully lifted onto stretchers. As they passed Xalthor, Sarah's eyes opened briefly. She managed a weak smile. Told you it would work, she whispered. Then her eyes closed and she was unconscious. The medical team rushed the humans away. Xalthor stood in the empty airlock, looking at the scorch marks on the floor where the humans had collapsed. Around him, the ship's systems hummed with renewed life. The fusion core was stable. The ship was safe, and 3 humans had walked into hell itself to make it happen. Xalthor activated the ship-wide communication. All crew, this is Commander Xalthor. The crisis is over. The fusion core is stable. We are safe. This is thanks to the courage of 3 humans who volunteered to enter the core chamber to make repairs. They are now in medical care. I will provide updates on their condition as soon as possible. He paused, trying to find the right words. Today I witnessed something I did not think possible. I saw beings walk into certain death without hesitation. I saw them work through pain that should have destroyed them. I saw them refuse to quit when every instinct should have made them run. The humans have shown us what their species truly is. They are not reckless. They are not insane. They are simply unwilling to accept defeat. Xalthor ended the transmission. He walked to the medical bay where the humans were being treated. Through the window he could see them on medical beds, their bodies covered in burns and radiation damage. Medical scanners hummed and beeped. Lyra and her team worked frantically. Pelmoth joined Xalthor at the window. Will they survive? I do not know, Xalthor admitted. But if determination can keep someone alive, then the humans will survive. They did not go through all that just to die now. I have never seen anything like this, Pelmoth said quietly. In all my years, in all the species I have encountered, I have never seen such bravery. Neither have I, Zalthor agreed. He looked at the three humans fighting for their lives. Neither have I. Inside the medical bay, Sarah's vital signs suddenly fluctuated wildly. Alarms began to sound. Lyra shouted orders to her team. Zalthor pressed his hands against the window, helpless to do anything but watch. The humans had saved everyone on the ship. Now the question was, could anyone save them? The medical bay fell silent as Lyra and her team worked frantically over Sarah's bed. The alarms continued their urgent wailing. Zalthor stood frozen at the window, watching helplessly. After everything the humans had done after saving the entire ship, were they going to die anyway? Stabilizing, Lyra announced after what felt like an eternity. The alarms quieted. She's stable. For now. Zalthor released a breath he did not know he was holding. He stayed at the window, watching the medical team work. All three humans were in critical condition. Their bodies were fighting massive radiation damage, severe burns and system shock. The medical scanners showed cellular breakdown throughout their bodies. Commander, you should rest, Pelmoth said gently. You have been here for 8 hours. I will rest when they wake up, Zalthor said firmly. I will not leave them. As the hours passed, other crew members came to the medical bay window. They stood in quiet groups, watching the humans who had saved them. Some brought flowers from the ship's garden. Others left small gifts outside the medical bay door. The Thrennock crew performed their blessing ceremony. The Quasar stood honor guard by the entrance. 30 hours after the mission, Zalthor was still at his post by the window. He had not slept. He could not sleep. He spent the time reviewing the mission footage, trying to understand what he had witnessed. He watched the humans enter the core chamber again and again. He studied their vital signs, their movements, their communications. He listened to their voices growing weaker but never giving up. He watched them work through pain that should have killed them. Between reviewing footage, Zalthor researched human history. He accessed the Galactic database and read everything he could find about Earth and its people. What he found both fascinated and terrified him. Humans had a history of impossible rescues. During something called World War II, they evacuated an entire army from a beach under enemy fire using civilian boats. During a space mission called Apollo 13, they brought home astronauts from a crippled spacecraft using nothing but spare parts and determination. They had rescued people from collapsed buildings, sinking ships, burning aircraft, and natural disasters. But there were also disturbing entries. News articles about something called Florida Man showed humans doing incredibly stupid and dangerous things for no clear reason. People wrestled alligators for fun. They climbed mountains without safety equipment. They jumped out of perfectly functional aircraft with only cloth parachutes. They are either the bravest species in the galaxy or the most insane, Zalthor muttered to himself. Perhaps both. He found a human phrase that seemed to sum up their species. Hold my beer and watch this. It was apparently said before doing something dangerous and stupid, but potentially amazing. The humans in the fusion core had literally said this to him. There were human concepts he struggled to understand. They had a saying, "Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends." The humans had done exactly that. They barely knew most of the crew, yet they risked everything to save them. Another phrase caught his attention. We do these things not because they are easy, but because they are hard. An ancient human leader had said this about going to their moon. Humans deliberately chose difficult paths because the challenge itself had value to them. Zalthor was beginning to understand. Humans were not insane. They simply operated on different principles than most species. Where others calculated risk and chose safety, humans calculated risk and chose action. Where others saw impossible odds and retreated, humans saw impossible odds and charged forward anyway. Commander, Lyra's voice came through the communication system. You need to see this. Zalthor rushed into the medical bay. Lyra was standing by Sarah's bed, her scanner held up in disbelief. What is it? What's wrong? Zalthor demanded. Nothing is wrong, Lyra said slowly. That is what is remarkable. Look at these scans. She brought up a holographic display showing Sarah's cellular structure. When the humans arrived 30 hours ago, their cells showed massive radiation damage. DNA breakdown, cellular death, tissue destruction. I gave them all a 40% chance of survival, and that was optimistic. And now? Zalthor asked, studying the scan. Now their cells are repairing themselves, Lyra said in wonder. Not just healing, but actively regenerating. The damaged DNA is being rebuilt. New cells are replacing dead ones. They are healing at a rate I have never seen in any species. Zalthor looked at the 3 humans sleeping in their beds. Will they survive? Not only will they survive, Lyra said, but they will make a nearly complete recovery. Some scarring, some minor cellular changes, but they will be functional within days. Commander, this should not be possible. The damage they sustained should take months to heal, if it healed at all. Most species would have permanent disability from this level of radiation exposure. But humans are not most species, Zalthor said quietly. No, Lyra agreed. They are most definitely not. 6 hours later, Marcus woke up. His eyes opened slowly, focusing on the ceiling above him. He turned his head and saw Zalthor sitting beside his bed. Hey, Commander, Marcus said, his voice rough and dry. We make it? You made it, Zalthor said, feeling a rush of relief. All 3 of you. And the ship is safe thanks to you. Marcus smiled weakly. Good, that's good. He paused, then asked, the others? Sarah and Ravi are stable. Lyra says you will all recover fully. Of course we will, Marcus said. We're humans. We're too stubborn to die. Over the next 12 hours, Sarah and Ravi also woke up. Soon all 3 humans were conscious and talking, though still weak. Medical staff limited visitors, but Zalthor was allowed in to see them. How do you feel? He asked. Like I was cooked in a microwave and then hit by a truck, Sarah said with a weak laugh. But alive. That's what matters. Yeah, this whole thing sucked, Ravi added from his bed. Let's never do that again. Agreed, Marcus said firmly. Then he paused. Unless we have to. Unless we have to, Sarah and Ravi echoed together. Zalthor stared at them in disbelief. You would do this again? After nearly dying? If it meant saving the ship and crew? Sarah said. Yeah, absolutely. That's what we signed up for. That is insane, Zalthor said. That's being human, Ravi replied with a grin. The ship limped toward the nearest station at reduced speed. It would take 4 more days to arrive, but they would arrive safely. The fusion core hummed steadily, its systems repaired and stable. Throughout the ship, crew members went about their duties with a new appreciation for being alive. Word of what happened spread through the communication networks. Other ships heard the story. Stations received reports. The 3 humans who walked into a fusion core and survived became instant legends. Zalthor sat in his quarters, writing his official report. He chose his words carefully, knowing this would be read by Fleet Command and possibly the Galactic Council. On Stardate 2847.6, the Salveth Wanderer experienced critical fusion core failure. Standard procedures failed to resolve the crisis. 3 human crew members volunteered to enter the core chamber to make manual repairs, despite a 60% probability of death. The humans survived 5 minutes and 12 seconds inside the core chamber, enduring temperatures of 4,000 degrees Kelvin and radiation exposure of 850 rem per minute. They successfully repaired the fusion core, saving all 47 crew members aboard the Wanderer. All 3 humans survived the mission and are expected to make full recoveries. This incident demonstrates the exceptional resilience and courage of the human species. I recommend that humans be given special consideration for emergency response roles in future multi-species operations. He paused, then added one more line. I also recommend studying human psychology and physiology further. We have much to learn from them. They refuse to accept the unacceptable. They do not surrender in the face of impossible odds. This may be their greatest strength, and the galaxy would benefit from understanding it better. Zalthor saved the report. He stood and looked out the window at the stars passing by. In the medical bay, 3 humans were recovering from an ordeal that should have killed them. They were joking with the nurses, already planning modifications to improve core access for future emergencies. That was perhaps the most remarkable thing, Zalthor realized. The humans were not traumatized by their near-death experience. They were already thinking about how to make the next mission safer and more efficient. They had looked death in the face, and their response was to take notes for improvement. The galaxy will never be the same, Zalthor said to himself. Not now that we truly understand what humans are capable of. 4 days after the incident, the Salveth Wanderer docked at Station Prometheus. The station was a massive structure in orbit around a gas giant, home to thousands of beings from dozens of species. News of what happened had already reached the station. A crowd waited at the docking bay. Zalthor stood at the airlock preparing to disembark. Behind him, the three humans walked without assistance. They still showed signs of their ordeal. Bandages on their arms, slight burns on their faces, a careful way of moving that suggested lingering pain. But they were alive, walking and joking with each other. "Think they'll throw us a parade?" Ravi asked. "More likely they'll throw us in a psychiatric evaluation," Sarah replied. "What we did was technically insane." "Only technically," Marcus said with a grin. The airlock opened. Zalthor stepped out first, followed by his crew. The crowd that greeted them was silent at first, staring at the humans. Then someone started clapping. The sound spread through the crowd like a wave. Soon hundreds of beings from dozens of species were applauding, their various forms of approval creating a cacophony of sound. The humans looked uncomfortable with the attention. Sarah actually blushed, her face turning red. Marcus scratched the back of his head awkwardly. Ravi gave a small wave that looked half-hearted. Station Commander Velsarin approached them. She was a tall Thrennock with silver skin marked with lines of age and experience. "Commander Zalthor, I have read your report. It is remarkable." "And these are the humans?" "Yes, Commander," Zalthor said. "Engineer Sarah Chen, Dr. Marcus Webb, and pilot Ravi Sharma." Velsarin studied the three humans carefully. "You walked into a fusion core." "Yes, ma'am," Sarah said simply. "And survived." "Barely," Marcus admitted. "Barely is still success," Velsarin said. She made a gesture of deep respect, one reserved for the highest honors in Thrennock culture. "You have done something unprecedented. The galactic community is discussing your actions. Some call it madness, others call it miracle. What do you call it?" The three humans looked at each other. Ravi spoke first. "We call it Tuesday." There was a moment of confused silence. Then Sarah explained. "He means it was just another day at work. We saw a problem. We fixed it. That's what we do." "You nearly died," Velsarin pointed out. "Yes," Marcus agreed. "But we didn't, and the ship is safe. That's what matters." Velsarin shook her head in wonder. "Your species is remarkable. Come, we must discuss what happens next. Your report has caused quite a reaction in the Fleet Command and the Council." Over the next days, the humans were questioned extensively. Scientists wanted to study their physiology. Military officers wanted to understand their tactics. Psychologists wanted to probe their motivations. The humans endured it all with patience, though Zalthor could see them growing tired of the attention. Meanwhile, Zalthor's report spread through the galactic networks. The response was immediate and intense. News feeds carried the story across hundreds of systems. "Humans enter fusion core to save ship" became the most discussed topic on the galactic communication channels. The reactions varied wildly by species. The cautious Thrennock called it controlled insanity. The aggressive Quasar praised it as true warrior spirit. The logical Velkari struggled to understand the decision-making process. The peaceful Minthari were simply amazed that anyone would volunteer for such danger. But there was also fear. Some species worried about what humans might do if they ever became enemies. A species that would walk into a fusion core to save friends. What would they do to destroy enemies? The debates raged across the galactic forums. 5 days after docking, Zalthor received a message from Fleet Command. He read it in his temporary quarters on the station, then called the humans to meet him. "What's up, Commander?" Sarah asked as they gathered in his room. "Fleet Command has made several decisions regarding our incident," Zalthor said. He pulled up the official communication. "First, they are recommending major changes to fusion core safety protocols across the fleet. Emergency access will be improved. New protective equipment will be developed based on your suit modifications." "That's good," Marcus said. "Maybe others won't have to do what we did." "Second," Zalthor continued, "they are offering all three of you commendations for valor. These are the highest honors given by the galactic fleet." The humans looked uncomfortable again. Sarah spoke up. "Commander, we appreciate that, but we don't need medals. We were just doing our jobs." This statement confused Zalthor more than almost anything else the humans had done. "You do not want recognition for your actions?" "It's not about recognition," Ravi explained. "We didn't do this to be heroes. We did it because it needed to be done. Getting medals feels weird, like we're being rewarded for basic decency." "Most beings would not consider entering a fusion core basic decency," Zalthor pointed out. Most beings aren't human, Sarah said with a smile. Zalthor made a gesture of resignation. I will inform Fleet Command of your wishes. However, there is a third matter. They are requesting that you present your experience at the next Fleet Safety Conference. They want other crews to learn from what you did. That we can do, Marcus agreed. If our experience helps others survive similar situations, then the whole ordeal was worth it. The conversation was interrupted by an alert on Zalthor's communication device. He checked it and his mandibles clicked in surprise. What is it? Sarah asked. My report has reached the Galactic Council, Zalthor said slowly. They are formally requesting more information about human capabilities. They want to understand your species better. Is that good or bad? Ravi asked. I do not know yet, Zalthor admitted. But it means humans will receive more attention from the galactic community. Your species may no longer be a minor curiosity from a distant world. You may become something much more significant. Over the next week, more reports came in. Human crews on other ships had performed similar acts of courage when faced with emergencies. A human doctor had entered a contaminated medical bay to save patients. A human engineer had sealed a hull breach from the outside in vacuum, while his safety line was damaged. A human pilot had crashed her ship into an asteroid to divert it from a colony. A pattern was emerging. Humans did not see impossible situations the same way other species did. Where others saw certain death and reasonable retreat, humans saw challenges to overcome. It was not that they did not understand the danger. They understood it perfectly. They simply refused to let danger stop them. Zalthor compiled all these reports into a supplemental document. He titled it, Understanding Humanity, a Study in Courage and Contradiction. When the Salveth Wanderer was cleared for departure, Zalthor gathered his crew for a final meeting before leaving the station. The entire crew stood in the main assembly hall. We have been through an ordeal together, Zalthor said. We faced death and we survived because 3 members of our crew refused to accept defeat. I want each of you to remember what happened. Remember that sometimes the impossible is only impossible until someone tries it. He turned to face the 3 humans specifically, Sarah, Marcus, Ravi. I have been authorized to offer you permanent positions on the Salveth Wanderer with increased rank and pay. You would lead our emergency response teams and train others in crisis management. Will you accept? The 3 humans did not hesitate. Yes, they said together. Of course, Sarah added. This crew is family now. We don't abandon family. Though maybe we can avoid fusion cores from now on, Marcus suggested hopefully. We will certainly try, Zalthor said with what might have been humor. However, I suspect that with you 3 aboard, we will find other impossible situations to face. Probably, Ravi agreed cheerfully. But hey, that's what makes life interesting. The crew filed out of the assembly hall heading to their stations for departure. Zalthor remained behind with the 3 humans for a moment. I must ask you something, he said. After everything that happened, after nearly dying, you show no fear. No trauma. How is this possible? The humans considered the question. Finally, Sarah answered. Commander, humans have been facing death since we evolved. Our planet tried to kill us every day. Predators, diseases, natural disasters, other humans. We survived by being too stubborn to give up. Fear is normal for us. We feel it all the time. We just don't let it stop us. On Earth we have another saying, Marcus added. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is acting despite fear. We were terrified in that core chamber, but we acted anyway. And that, Ravi finished, is what being human means. We know we might fail. We know we might die. We try anyway, because sometimes trying is more important than succeeding. Zalthor understood now, or at least he understood as much as a non-human could. Humans were not fearless. They were not invincible. They were simply unwilling to surrender to impossibility. The galaxy is going to be very different with humans in it, Zalthor said. For better or worse? Sarah asked. For better, Zalthor said firmly. Definitely for better. The Salveth Wanderer departed Station Prometheus and resumed its mission. In his personal log that evening, Zalthor made one final entry about the incident. Today I learned that the truly unthinkable was not that humans entered the fusion core. The truly unthinkable was that they will do it again if needed without hesitation. They have shown us something fundamental about their species.